led me to want to be sitting here talking about it was when I learned what the state was asking for as his sentencing. They want 2 years probation.
Are you sure? You consent? I consent. Yeah, my name is Ali, and I love keep my man forever. And we're gonna do it like it never been done before.
My name is Ali. I am sharing my story as a sexual assault survivor in the hopes that me speaking up will allow people who speak up after me to see the justice and be granted the safety that they deserve. In the month of March of 2019, a man that I had become friends with raped me, and he took a video of me before doing so that narrated his intention and his acknowledgement of my state of not being able to provide consent, and then sent it to me the next day.
And he sent me this text message with this video saying, "You were so fucking cute last night." And this video shows me doing exactly as I had intended on doing, which was passing out on top of his covers or on top of his bed stuff, fully clothed, not having sex for sure, but also, just fucking getting some sleep. Or trying to, at least, until he, of course, pretends to talk for me and is saying, "You sure? You sure you consent?" One of my eyes rolls out of my head, like after my eyelid opens, and then closes, and he takes my mouth in his hand and pretends to talk for me, saying, "I consent." The next morning, I woke up and I was naked and my clothes were on the floor, and dude was getting up, getting ready for work. He and I both started work at the same time, which was like around 1 p.m. And I look on the floor and there's like an empty condom wrapper. I almost didn't allow myself to really think about it too much at first because for plenty of weird subconscious reasons, along with the fact of I'm running late for work, I can unpack this if I even want to at my desk. I just need to focus on not losing my job. He was my supervisor. He had been trying to hang out with me, and I was 24 at the time, and I think he was 44 or something at the time.
And then a week later, I decided that I should go to the police. How I approached it with the police officer I spoke to is I said, "I just need to tell you what happened, and I want to know if I have a case because I don't want to go through the heartache of this if I don't." I explained what happened to me, and he was paying attention, but it seemed like an obligation to remain attentive until I mentioned the video and showed him the video, and I watched his pupils dilate when he watched the video, and he took a deep breath and he said, "Yeah, you have a case," and gave me the option of whether or not I wanted to investigate it, which on one hand I'm very grateful for. It allowed me to feel in control of a situation that resulted from me not being in control. But in hindsight, that was probably the first indicator, aside from the fact that the purpose of me going to the cops was is this enough? Is this video of someone narrating their intent to rape me enough? But in hindsight, the police's job is to investigate crime. In many situations, that is their obligation. And I told him no. I told him I thought about it, and the only thing that kept me hung up was I should do the right thing in case this happens to someone else. I didn't have it in me to kind of fight for this, and that I preferred to handle it on my own however I saw fit, and that's how I would heal, and that ultimately this man's actions were not my obligation. You know, I can't hold myself accountable for this man's actions. That's A, what he is supposed to do, and B, what the law is supposed to follow up on if he doesn't. I ended up leaving that job, but I had a friend that still worked there, and in August of that same year, 2019, they messaged me, they texted me and said that dude had just gone to jail after being arrested and having his cubicle searched and basically turned upside down. And he had been charged for drug charges as well as for assaulting someone else. And the guilt that I felt in that moment, it took my breath away. It was kind of like my worst fear. In that moment, I knew that I never wanted to stay silent again.
You know, like when something is fucked and like your kind of instinct is to like fix it or like change stuff to make it not happen again. That's kind of where I'm at with this. Of like, I can't change the past. I can't change what happened. I can't change that night. And like, I can't change the fact that it happened to someone else after me. But like, the longer I sit and like still not do anything, like sure, I'm reporting it. Oh, that's the other thing. They slapped him with charges for 5th-degree sexual assault, which is for taking my clothes off without my consent. Nothing about the actual rape.
Intent is clear. You have video evidence, both of the intent as well as my inability to provide consent or keep my eyes open. Fuck. Unfortunately, it's not about proving intent. The way that the laws are currently written, it's about proving that it happened. This form of crime is expected to have the same proof of evidence about something that is deliberately done in private. And the burden of the proof isn't on the investigator necessarily, it's on the victim, it's on the survivor. And finding flaws in the argument is using the victim. It's never about, what about this alleged rapist, assaulter, whatever, seems to fit the bill. It's always about, what reasons do we have on the victim's medical history, their verbal history, their friendships, relationships. What about their relationship with their parents? What medications are they on? That could discredit them going through all of these hoops to receive a fucking 5th-degree sexual assault charge. Especially with this video, it's like being punched in the middle of a busy street and no one acknowledging that it happened or believing you that it happened. Apparently, sexual assault is currently some intricate lock that only one key fits as far as evidence goes. On one hand, the laws need to change, and people are trying. And if this bill passes through the House and makes it through the Senate, it would make such a big difference. The House bill has a number of changes to it, from our current law to what it's proposing, as well as introducing new verbiage and a new law, a sexual extortion law. Because right now there's what's called the intoxication loophole, as we learned about recently, that if someone is intoxicated, apparently they hold culpability for what people do to them. But that's going to change. This bill changes the definition of mentally incapacitated. If this person was drunk and this person was mentally impaired from any of a number of ways, and there is significant reason to believe that the person who assaulted them knew that, it's first degree. And I know that there's a lot of changes within the bill as well, as far as sexual assault of vulnerable adults as well as children.
There's this assumption that women should just like assume they're gonna get raped, and so they should do things to reduce those odds.
Rape is seen as an unfortunate thing that happens behind closed doors that we'll never know much about, and not know the full story. But that's only because we're not listening to the survivors and considering why they might be right instead of why they might be lying or wrong, or my personal favorite, why they didn't necessarily deserve it, but they probably could have prevented it by their clothing, by their how much they drank, how much they knew the person, where they were, what time it was, how they were acting. It doesn't matter. And it's so important to remember that anger at the rapist and not suspicion of the victim. And I want to make something very clear. This story, my story, this man, none of this is unique. This happens all the time. The only thing that's unique is I feel that I have a tool to actually paint the picture with the video, with talking about it. I want that video, my video, to serve not as like my face, but of the face of whoever you're hearing speaking about this, because not a single person that I've shared that video with has asked for that context. Because once you see it, it's clear that none of those questions matter, because they don't, and they never have. Without any sort of change in education and understanding the true meaning of consent, we're still going to have issues, because you don't accidentally rape someone. You don't.